have a clear idea when these companies come. Do read their job description very well and get to understand what they do. Connect with your seniors who have been placed before, and make yourself understand where you want to actually go. Because if someone says that I want to go in finance, believe me, that won't make sense, because it's very, very wide field.
Rishi, can you please go next? And Atharva, can you please share your experiences?
Uh, yeah, so Karmanya and Rishi both made some good points, and I broadly agree with them. Uh, as they said, you should figure out the role in which you're interested. For example, in my case, uh, I I was interested in corporate finance and the business side of things more than the risk as well as market or quant roles. So I prioritized, the companies and the roles which I liked. So you should now it is probably a little late, but I think you'll the Vijanta sitting for placements will have a fair idea of what their interests are, and then you should do that. And also, as Rishi said, talking to seniors always helps. So.
So, moving on to the next question, there is always a doubt about the selection procedure for the companies that offer placements, which makes the process for the students a bit daunting. So, could you highlight a generalized selection procedure for the same? Rishi, would you like to start?
To be very honest, it's there is not such a general process. Like if you're sitting for tech profile, you may have to go through like a test, a coding test or something. But here in my case, if I'll say, so first round was just an report writing. It was an essay writing round where like everyone has to write a report on a topic that will be given at that time of around 500 words. Based on that, you make to the second round. And for many of the companies like Nomura, like I had an experience in wholesale strategy during my internship, so I can say from that, like first step would be to get your CV shortlisted, and then those set of students will go through a series of tests. So uh, if like if I'm talking about wholesale strategy, maybe Kamanya will be more able to speak on that. But like if you go by job profile, the test will vary. If it's about global markets, then question will be around that. If I'm talking about wholesale strategy, there will be a case study or a guesstimate kind of thing. So definitely, as you know, get to know which profile you are aiming at. Then accordingly, the test will differ as well. Obviously, if you're targeting co-finance, there won't be any tests on as such on hacker rank or something. So you just have to have a niche knowledge of finance in that area. It's a very basic thing, I guess. Everyone who has prepared for the finance profile will be able to go through that test.
Athar, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, well, so based on my experience last year, finance companies, generally put a higher weightage on your resume versus, shortlisting a lot of people and then having a test, which happens generally for software roles. So, having your resume right and getting it shortlisted is the first step, and then you may have one or two tests before the interviews. In my case, Hartford had a it had a basic seventh eighth standard maths type cut test, and DC advisory had a it had a fairly high level accounting based quiz. They also recruited for the investment banking profile. So again, in terms of corporate finance roles, also the tests may vary. So you should talk to seniors about who were placed there, so to get a better idea of the process.
Karmanya, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I mean, these two guys covered almost everything. I would just say that overall, if I had to summarize, there are basically two things that you need for the process. The first one is your quantitative aptitude, because I remember a lot of companies came in. I think it was Da Vinci, I think, who had whose test was just how many questions can you solve in the next 10 minutes. That's the kind of that's also kind of test that can come. So one aspect of what they expect out of you is you being a numbers person, you being able to do some of the math in your head quickly. And then the other aspect of it is your finance knowledge. Now, depending on the profile, they will ask you a different set of finance knowledge. Like the front end M&A advisory guys who had come in, those guys were asking accounting questions and stuff like that. And the others were asking more market related questions. So again, it kind of loops back to the previous thing. Know which profile you're applying for. That way, it will be easier for you to even prepare for the test. That's one thing I would say. Yeah.
Last moment strategies are very crucial and students feel very anxious during this period. What are your suggestions for the last moment preparations to ace the interviews? Rishi, can you please like to begin?
Sure. So, if I'm generally just talking about the entire finance domain, I would say you would need to be good with numbers, first of all. So, for if you're targeting for trading profile, then of course, as Karmanya said, there will be quick maths kind of things. But even if you are going for other profiles as well, I think maths is one of the things that will surely be there. Like anyway, hook or crook, it will be there. Even for accounting, you have to have some financial knowledge on how the three financial statements are linked to each other. But again, without like decent maths and prop stats, it won't be you, you won't be that much prepared. So I think if you are just generalizing how to prepare for a series of such kind of profiles, then you should brush up with all the prop stats and prop stat questions. I think these guys must have also shared some of the resources where you can practice those things. So prop stats, quant questions, and definitely the some basic financial knowledge of accounting principles would be great. So suppose if you have got a interview shortlist, then again, it's first thing you would need to know what's the profile all about. Uh, Prepare your CV very well, because in profiles like finance, your interview actually goes as you introduce yourself. So they'll go through the resume and will they may just start trailing at any of the points that you have in your resume. So make sure that if there are any trails where the interviewer can go deep, you should know like deep into your resume, like what you have done, and you should be able to explain those things very well. So that's one thing. And yeah, apart from that, if you don't have a relevant experience to the profile, the interviewer then may go for some of the general questions like puzzle solving, quant questions, and guesstimates. So even like this is very subjective. In my case, my profile was very relative to the profile that I was applying for. So none of these things were there. None of these general things were there. It was all based on resume. But for many other candidates who have been shortlisted for this profile,
Rishi, you are not audible. Is there some issue there?
am I not audible?
No, it's fine.
Hello.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. Sure. So I'll just wrap it up by saying that if you don't have a very relevant experience to the profile that you have got an interview with, so just be sure that you have practiced prop stats, general puzzles, and quant questions. So those things will go hand in hand quite well. Other than that, basic financial concepts would be required for sure.
Karmanya, can you please go next?
Uh, so Rishi pretty much covered everything. Just that. So basically, there are two parts of what they'll ask you. Like Rishi said, there is one finance knowledge, and then the other one is your general stuff, which is your puzzles. And some companies also insist on asking guesstimates to you. If for whatever reason, so if you apply for wholesale strategy, they might even ask a small case to you because this role is somewhat like a consulting role, which is why they'll ask a case as well. So other than this, I would also suggest go through the job description a day before because I've had batchmates who reached the interview round and they were almost blatantly on their face asked, "Do you know what the job description is?" So that situation kind of gets embarrassing. So don't go into an interview not knowing what the interview is for, please. And other than that, just focus on. I mean, there is no last moment preparation that you can do as such because the field itself is so broad. They can ask you so many things. I am just hoping that before that you have figured out all these puzzles, your CV, and a bit of finance, because that's what will be asked. If you ask me last moment preparation, what should you do? Go to sleep. That's what you should do last moment.
Atharva, can you please share your experience?
Atharva, you are muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah. So both of them covered everything, but one tip from my side would be that if you're appearing for your dream profile, your dream company, you should be able to, and you're well prepared. You should be able to drive the interview instead of letting the interviewer drive the interview. And what I mean by that, I'll just explain. You should leave a hook. For example, when you ask you to introduce yourself, that is the most important 1.5 minutes you'll have. And you should prepare a really good compelling pitch about yourself. And then at the end of that introduction should be something which is new, which is where most people would ask a follow up to that way, to the end bit of your intro. And then know matlab, you should prepare well, and then that gives a really good flow to the interview is what I've observed. And in terms of last minute preparation, these two guys covered everything, so nothing else to add from myself.
I can pitch in 2 cents more on this last minute preparation because one of this thing actually helped me. So if the profile is like about the profile, for example, mine was equity research. So I knew like the questions where the questions could be around. So you can just Google actually a bank of questions and you can attempt those and make sure that you have solutions to those as well. So in case that you are stuck anywhere, you won't be wasting time on okay, what's the answer. If you don't know the answer, just look at the answer, understand it, and that's fine. You just have extra knowledge for tomorrow. Then if that question comes in case, you'll be prepared.
Got it.
That was very insightful. So moving ahead to the next question. To achieve expertise in any domain, one needs to have a strong core foundation. So what are the prerequisites required for a finance program? Atharva, would you like to begin?
Um, so again, depends on the profile. For example, for a trading profile, they expect you to have some basic knowledge of bonds, derivatives, financial instruments, and very quick mental math speed. Uh, in terms of my company, they expect you to have some business knowledge, a little bit of interest in corporate finance, and you should be able. And there's a CV grilling round, so you should be able to confidently explain what you have done so far. Apart from that, I wouldn't say that CFA or FRM or any of those certifications are particularly necessary. And you can always say that, I'm going to register for them, or I've just registered for them, or something like that. But basic knowledge of depends on profile. Yeah, that's
So, Karmanya, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I mean, like Atharva said, it depends on your profile, and I think a lot of it we've covered in the previous questions as well, right? Like the three statements, your instruments, then then how the market works, macroeconomics. All of this will again depend on which profile you're applying for, but nevertheless, that if you want a bracket, if you want an umbrella thing of what to cover, I would suggest be good with macroeconomics, because no matter which field of finance you're getting into, macroeconomics does kind of drive all the underlyings in all of them. I mean, it has some footprint in each of the fields. So I think macroeconomics is something you should be really good at. And other than that, depending on your field and what you're getting into, you will need to know different things. I mean, I think that's from my side.
Rishi, would you like to add something to it?
Uh, yeah, sure. Like, actually, the question is very subjective. As I'd say, if you have a shortlist in one of the profiles, uh, like, do go for like, if you're interested in a specific profile, just consult a senior who is working in that profile, because it is going to be varied a lot. For example, in my profile, it's finance heavy. I guess I would say that because most of my seniors who have been placed in the same profile had experience or CFA or something. But other than that, there have been cases. But I would say that, yeah, if you are just talking about the prerequisites, then basic financial, you should know basic financial concepts like time value of money, and how the financial statements work, financial modeling, basic of DCF analysis, if like valuation techniques, if you are going either for M&A profile or the ER profile. So things will vary, but yeah, basics would cover. I would say if in last minute preparation, one should go for short courses. Actually, those are quite helpful to brush up your knowledge on the basic things, and they will surely help during the interview.
Thank you. That was really insightful. Now moving on, what level of expertise does the interviewer expect from us for the finance profile? Karmanya, would you like to start?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by expertise? You mean expertise in terms of
Expertise in finance,
skills?
yeah, in the core
Okay,
finance.
okay, okay, understood. Okay, so again, this is again very profile dependent, but what they will expect, what most companies would expect, especially at the fresher level, is that you have relevant knowledge of that field, and the fact that you are able to, at bare minimum, analytically figure out what is going on. Let me give you an example. For instance, Nomura, for their global markets and their wholesale strategy divisions, will have a GD round in which they are not trying to assess how much of finance do you know. What they're trying to assess is, are you able to make the connection between decreasing employment rate and inflation? Or are you able to make the connection between, say, interest rate hikes and prices of oil? So that kind of thing, the logical aspect, are you able to make those logical connects the way they are actually connected, is what they expect in those places. However, in the case of, say, the core IB profiles like R4 and even equity research, they will probably expect a little bit more of finance knowledge. So yeah, again, it's dependent on the role, but in general, they all know that you are coming out of an IIT, so they know their expectations are already capped to a certain extent.
Atharva, can you please share insights on this? Atharva, you're on mute.
Yeah. Sorry. So I uh, So I'll talk about my two interview experiences. One was at Arport, the second one was at DC. At Arpod, it was mainly guesstimates, puzzles, and my CV. It had a lot of finance content in it, so there were follow-ups. But if your CV has engineering or software or anything, they would ask based on that. They wouldn't ask apart from that. In DC, what I remember is that the interviews expect you to have a CFA or at least register for the CFA level 1, and expect a bit more advanced accounting concepts, corporate finance, that sort of stuff. So those two were my only interview experiences.
And Rishi, would you like to add something to this?
Uh, I would say a simple answer to this question would be an interviewer would expect anything that you have on your CV, because that's the first thing he's gonna see. So if you have made to the interview round, and like if there is anything related to the profile, or like anything non-core related, even in business analytics, if you'd say, or finance side, if you have written on your CV, you must know it. Like if if you don't know it, then don't write on your CV. It could be dangerous as well. So yeah. So in terms of what is the interview going to expect, everything on your CV. That that's what I would say.
Although most of this has been already covered in the past questions, but would you like to add some more tips to ace the interviews? So, Rishi, would you like to start?
Sure. Okay, I would say that like I would just go by my personal experience. So one thing is that when you are in the interview, now, like, don't think about what you could have done. Like, you are there with all the knowledge that you have. It's all upon you how you steer the interview right from the introduction. So everything's in your hand. So just be confident enough with whatever you are saying, and if you are not sure, then just you may just deny. Sometimes the interviewer may get a little frustrated if you are not sure about things but guessing things. So don't do too much of guesswork in the interview, I would say. And one thing for acing interview is that when you are giving your introduction, right? So if you have a strong point somewhere, just try to direct the interview towards that. So, for example, if you have really done some solid work in any of the prior internship or any work experience, then do mention that on your in your introduction. Chances are like 80 to 90% there will be a follow-up question, and if you show confidence and interest on that front, it will go deeper. And as you'll get to show your knowledge and experience in your area of expertise if you are able to direct the interview as per yourself. So I would say like that is a technique that you can use. uh, for example, in my case, to be very honest, it went for 2.5 hours, for which for the starting 45 minutes, it was a debate between me and the executive director on a topic. So, if you have maintained that kind of confidence to debate a senior executive on a topic, that's for sure like strengthen your chance of getting the offer. So, yeah, if you have strengths, try to direct the interview towards that. That's all I would say.
Yeah, this will be very helpful. Atharva, would you like to go next?
Yeah, just echoing what Rishi said, don't don't try to bluff in interviews, especially at Artwood. They expect you to have deep knowledge. They'll be okay if you don't know it, if you don't have exposure to finance, but they'll not be okay if you're guessing, or you you're not sure about the answer, but you're still guessing. That sort of stuff is not entertained, and I believe in general in the finance industry this is not entertained, because you will attend client meetings and you can't say such things in front of the client, so uh, that is uh, that is the point. um One more thing would be that you should try to direct the interview towards your strengths, as Rishi said. um what more? I think that's it, yeah. Those two tips. I'll add after Karmanya if I think of anything.
So, Karmanya, would you like to add something?
I mean, obviously the 2 points that these guys have mentioned, right? First being the fact, and okay, other than all of this, there is one very fundamental and important thing that you need to remember while getting into an interview, is that the interview is about you. The interview is the interviewer trying to get to know you. And in this scenario, you are the subject matter expert. You clearly have an upper hand because the entire discussion is about you and your CV. So, keeping that in mind, there should be a level of confidence that at least I get when I keep this in mind, because everything is about you, so you should be the one driving the conversation, not the other way around. And the interviewer too wants you to be driving the conversation. And other than all of this, one part which a lot of people tend to miss out on is when the interviewer asks you to ask him questions. When the interviewer says, "Do you have any questions for me?" That you don't never say that, "No, sir, I don't have questions. Move on." No. Be proactive, find out about him, ask him how he is. The whole point of an interview is for him to know A, whether or not you actually did what you have written on your CV, and B, whether or not he can sit with you for 10 to 12 hours a day every day. That's basically what he's trying to find out in the interview. He wants to check, they call it the airport test, right? That is what an interview is at the end of the day. They want to find out whether you are someone who is working, who they can work with. And second, if you have the knowledge and the skill set which you have been boasting on your CV.
One more point, you should, whenever someone asks you a question, you should always try to, take a minute or or two to think about it and structure your answer, not just blurt out the first thing that comes out of your head. So that has been very important in case studies. In any question where you suspect that that it may be a trick question, or it is not what it seems on the surface, nobody minds if you take a minute or two to think. But when you open your mouth, give the correct answer, or at least a reasonable answer backed by some logic. uh,
That's actually a very good point that Atharv just rightly raised right now. So it's better to take a minute at the start than instantly starting your sentence and then getting stuck at the end. That will just boost your nervousness to the peak. Okay, what's now, like what's going to happen now? Like if you have an incomplete statement or sentence and you don't know like what word to use just after that, so structure your thought just before speaking. That will be all right. You can take 30 seconds or so, like, but just focus on what has been asked and structure your thoughts accordingly.
Next, next, we have received some questions from the student community through our registration form. So we would like to take up some of those questions. Will having some knowledge on programming and analytics profile give us an edge over others? How to prepare for core finance roles with no coding background? Rishi, can you please share your insights on this?
uh, Actually, the question is very subjective. Like, okay, no, it won't actually give you a like an edge if you are good at programming or something. In some of the profiles, it may. For example, there are some risk analytic profiles where analytical knowledge and knowledge of software packages like Python, R, etc. would be advantageous. But for example, in my profile, I'm I may never like use anything above Excel in terms of technologies. Like there are technologies which are automated, but I don't have to go beyond that because like I just need to have financial knowledge and the knowledge of my subject matter expertise that I can apply. So for my profile, I would say no. Technological knowledge won't be that advantageous, but for some profiles, it may definitely be. Some of the risk analytic profiles are there, I guess. And of course, for the controls, it's heavily dependent on these, software knowledge, coding knowledge as well. Some of the con profiles, not all, again. So it's better to know what profile you are targeting and just read because in job description they have given actually what they are expecting, what skills they are expecting. So based on that, you can make your mind. Yeah.
Karmanya, what are your views on this?
I think Rishi has pretty much covered it all. I don't know if there's anything else for me to add, but the second part of the question, which says how to prepare for core finance with no coding background. I mean, there is, as Rishi said, there is no need for coding in a lot of our profiles. I mean, I think all none of us three, I think, will be using Python in our daily jobs, as far as I can make out. So I don't think it is a necessity. But I mean, if you're applying for quant roles, if you're applying for, say, certain global markets rules, those might require you to know coding. Other than that, focus on the finance aspect of it. Even those roles actually will they will end up asking you more about the finance than about the coding in your interviews. I don't think any finance role is going to be like a programming quiz in the interview.
Atharva, would you like to add something to this?
So I'll answer the second question, which is how can you prepare for a core finance role, assuming you have no. So this assumes you have no coding background. Assuming you have very little finance background, I would say, there are these CFA books which are available online for free. And, there are guides to these CFA books by Kaplan or Schwesser, and they are also available for free on LibGen. So, you can read through the basics. You don't need to know 100% of the CFA level 1 syllabus. Even if you know 30-40%, that is enough. Uh, just try to cover it, especially the first 3-4 modules. First one is just quant, second is economics, third one is accounting, fourth one is corporate finance. So I think modules 2, 3, 4, and you'll be good to go.
Yes. So moving on to the next question. What role does our personality have in the interviews?
Karmanya, would you like to start with this?
I mean, so like I said, right, the interviewer is also trying to gauge whether or not they're willing to work with you throughout the day, 5 days a week at minimum. I mean, sometimes it's more. So, yeah, your personality does have a pretty major role to play, but it's not the kind of thing that you have to be someone who's outgoing or uh, they don't expect you to be some extremely likable, extremely friendly person, but they do expect certain level of the fact that you can have a normal conversation with that person is what they expect. That's the kind of personality they expect. That you can stand your ground and say, yes, I did this, and explain that in a good, amicable manner. That is what they expect. That's the kind of personality they're looking for.
Yes. Rishi, would you like to add something to this?
I would say personality is has more to do with how you progress in your career rather than an interview. It's just like half an hour or 45 minutes kind of thing. Even if you have, like, I don't think so. Like, most of the people are actually going to say what they might be thinking because, like, it's an interview. You have prepared for it. Even if a person who has an ill personality, I don't even know how to define that, but he may prepare just like great for that interview and may ace it. But it's something more to do with the progression of your career. So yeah, just make it conversational. The interview should be conversational. It shouldn't be question and answer. Interviewer is just asking question and you are just like answering those questions as some memorized answers. So just don't make that. Have it conversational. Rest, I don't think so. The question is valid that much on terms of interviews.
Atharva, would you like to go next?
Yeah, this the last point Rishi mentioned is actually very important. The best interviews I have also given were, they've felt pretty much like conversations, in which we were, in which it felt like I was discussing something with a friend rather than somebody asking me questions and I'm giving them pinpoint answers. Uh, if you know something extra, try to include it. It basically it is a skill of you being able to drive the interview, and if you're able to drive the interview, that's the use of your personality, I think. Apart from that, I've seen bosses who are extroverts, who are total introverts. So and I'm sort of introverted. My friend who was hired with me, most of them are extroverts, so it doesn't really matter that much.
Moving on, there is this common misconception among students regarding finance and analytics profile, as they find them both quite similar. Can you please differentiate between the two, which would help them? Rishi, would you like to start?
Yeah, I would like to start. First of all, there is no such profile as finance, and I don't know like how uh, to get it confused with the analytics profile. So analytics is like very different stream. So it will revolve around analytics per se. For example, you should know prop stats. You should know Python and its libraries. You know how to make insights out of data. That is analytics in broad. Whereas finance has its own profiles, as I've said, like it's a very broad paradigm, and in that, uh, there could be something like, for example, I'm an equity research analyst, so I'm doing analytics for sure, but I'm doing that on a company's financial data, market news, and macroeconomics. But it would require a very different skill set. So again, how to differentiate between them? Whatever profile comes, go through the job description. You'll know what it could want you from you, basically what it expects from you.
That's really insightful, Rishi. Karmanya, would you like to add something?
So like Rishi said, the two profiles are actually quite different. If I had to say what is the difference, if I had to pinpoint it, you are not going to be needing machine learning in finance. You might need it in analytics. Analytics is more about, like Rishi said, right? You take the data and then you have an inference. Finance is more about you already have the asset class, or you have the overall trend happening already. You take the data to try and make sense of it and try and figure out, okay, what kind of inferences do we make? So yeah, the role is called analyst in both cases, but here, since there's this, here it is only for finance, and there it will be based on whatever company is hiring you, and depending, and you'll be working on the company's data. I think if you work as an analyst in, say, Amazon, you'll be working on their sales data and stuff like that. So like Rishi said, read the job description, you will know what that role is. Because both are called analysts does not mean they're doing the same thing.
One broad like categorization that you can just make out is that if a company has anything related to analytics or something, if it's a company, it's if it's a venture, then the analytics is going to be around that company. If you are talking about finance profile, I'm not going to analyze JPMC. I have companies under my coverage which I'll be analyzing. So it's different in that way. If a venture, if any startup or anything is coming for a business analyst profile, it would be around its data and how to make insights out of that and use that for business efficiency. So that is a business analyst profile, and I guess that is the broadest categorization that you can make at this point.
Got it. Atharva, would you like to add something to this?
No, not really. Both of them covered pretty much everything. There's nothing. Uh, sort of coding and machine learning knowledge would be required in analytics, not proper corporate finance roles at least.
Okay.
So, moving on. Another common question is that what role does an internship play for a finance profile and how much weightage is given to it? So, Atharva, would you begin? Or would you like to begin?
Um, yeah, well, if you have done an internship within finance, then you'll probably have more talking points in an interview. You, and you'll probably have a better knowledge about some financial concepts. So that's it, really. They what I've observed is that generally companies prefer people who have been interested in finance for a little more than just the placement test, really. So if you've done your internship 6 months ago, which your summer internship in finance, then that is a better talking point than doing your internship in software. But I've had friends here who have done their summer internships in Walmart labs and uh, Ola and stuff like that. So it doesn't really uh, matlab, you can overcome it is what I'm trying to say. It's not a permanent handicap. You may have to work harder, but that's it.
Yeah. Karmanya, would you like to add something?
I mean, yeah, like Atharva said, it gives you more talking points in your interview, and also during the shortlisting process, this is something that does actually stand out. I mean, uh, given that shortlisting is usually it does nobody looks at your CV for more than say 40 seconds, 30 seconds. So yeah, having certain finance internships does increase your chance. But like he said, I have seen people overcome it. I have a lot of peers here at Muvra who did not necessarily have a finance internship. I mean, they had some of them had machine learning internships to be very precise. So it doesn't really matter.
Rishi, would you like to go next?
I just say if you have an interest for a profile, just apply to it. Now it doesn't matter what you have or you don't have. Really, you cannot do another internship just at this time and add it to your resumes.
I don't even think you can edit your CV right now. Or you can, right? Yeah, you can.
Anyway, like of course, as these guys said, if you have an internship, that would be advantages for sure. But even if you are interested, you will apply to the profile anyway. And what's the point of thinking whether I have an internship in my resume or not? Just go for it. There have been cases where people are shortlisted, as these guys have said. So once you are in that, like once you have shortlisted, you have been shortlisted. The questions may not, the interview questions may not be around your internship experience, but it may be around general questions. So yeah.
So now it's time that we take up some questions from the audience. So, audience, if anyone has a question for the panelists, please put it in the chat box.
Sir, can you please add your question in the chat?
Rajarshi, I haven't muted you. You can ask your question.
Hello, very good. I have a background of data science, and means I am learning right now deep learning and machine learning and all, and I can do means option trading, means in Bank Nifty. So I have also means mentioned in the CV, but I don't have any such kind of finance means means certificate or internships and all, because I am a means prepared for data science and machine learning. So, but I have mentioned it in CV that I can know this type of trading and all. So how can I means improve myself in order to get a finance job? That kind of thing. Means we have any means chance of getting that role if somebody has some trading knowledge with and data science knowledge. So this question that I want to ask.
I
If you are
mean, that's
able
a
to, yeah, go, Karmanya, you can go first. Yeah.
no, no. Okay, I was just going to say that. I mean, look, here's the thing. It is only about getting shortlisted. Once you're in the interview, they will only try to find out more about you and about what you have done. So since you're saying you have a trading and this back and a data science background, be thorough with what is on your CV. That is what they'll talk to you about during your interview. Be thorough with those general questions that everyone tells you to study for finance profiles. Other than that, there is nothing that you have to improve as such. All they'll expect to see out of you is yes, you know your CV, yes, you have an interest in finance, yes, you are able to make those connects, those logical connects that is required in finance. That's it. Rishi, go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. I was gonna say that only. So maybe you are more suited to a profile that has a blend of the two, that tech and that. Like there are MRGR profile where you may get to make models on derivatives pricing and etc. So like you can target those profiles. But I would really say if you have been preparing for ML analytics, then you have loads of options. वैसे ही छोटा सा पूल होता है for finance companies. Don't go there, यार. Don't go there. You have pretty much like pretty great chances at other companies. If you generally do not have that much interest, then you may not like the work as well. I like may say that. There are times, I don't know about others, we get to work for 17 hours a day. So there are times. So if you don't like
And
the work,
weekends.
don't go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, panelist. Okay, so for the next question, I'm unmuting VJ Sai Kumar. You can ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my question is to all the panelists. Could you please name some resources where we could study questions that can be asked in investment banking role interviews? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll take this one. So I said this before also, but you should check out the CFA guides. They are available for free online. And basic accounting, you you don't need to cover 100% of the material. Even 50-60% is enough. But accounting, corporate finance, and fixed income securities, those three would be the main topics on which they'll ask questions. If you have a background in finance, or if you say that you have done some work, then then you can expect some questions on that. Apart from that, you should know about the company you're interviewing. You should ask relevant questions when the interviewer asks if you have any questions for it. So yeah, that's that. uh, Apart from that, you should also know how the three financial statements are linked together. How does depreciation flow and stuff like that. What happens if depreciation goes up by 10 rupees, for example, then how does your net income change? Then how does your balance sheet change? How does your cash flow statement change? So those are important questions, I think. And if you have a good understanding of the CFA material, you'll be able to do that.
At this point, I think the best you can do is maybe Google Google the questions, the questions that are asked in investment banking interviews. It would be around those things that others just said. So just go through those questions, because there may be questions that you may not be able to cover if you are just going through the material right now. But going through a question bank actually helps you to cover a wide range of topics and help you get a better understanding on the broader area. And there's so much you can cover in an interview, so it's better that you have a general basic sense of most of the things.
I'll also drop a resource in the chat box. There's one website called Mergers and Inquisitions. It's mainly based for US investment banking roles, but you can use it here too.
Thank you, panelists, for this meaningful insight. It was very informative. So, seeing that there are no other questions, we'll move forward. Do you have some final words of advice for the placement Janta? Rishi, would you like to say something?
Uh, I would say, like, I mean, it's September, right? You have almost whole of September, October, November. Like, this much time is good enough to get everything in the order. So whatever material that you have, like herds on the street, so go through the quant questions, solve as much puzzles. So make a daily routine of practicing questions that will just make you fit uh, to interview. Not just during the placement time, you may also get some opportunities off campus as well. Because to be very honest, I would say the roles and the offers in the finance are quite limited. But I have friends who have done pretty well off campus as well. So you must be prepared for that too. And just be cool and confident. I think that's the key, because yeah, if you are just cool and confident, uh, I I just feel that you will be more positive and do better at your interview and placements. That's all.
Atharva, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just repeating what Rishi said, try, saying this is always easier, that try not to take too much pressure, look after yourself. It is, well, it is a competition, but, don't let it become toxic. Don't neglect your physical health in the next 2, 3 months. Having a good set of friends is always helpful. Um what I would like to suggest, one thing is that, if possible, you can solve problems or discuss cases, or discuss finance news, if especially for people who are interested in finance, in groups, in study groups, have 3, 4 people, each of them, you can read a newspaper, maybe a Economic Times, or online also, read about finance and then explain it to 3, 4 people. And when you explain it to 3, 4 people, your own understanding becomes better, and everybody gets more information. So studying in study groups would be one point. I studied on, our placements were online, so I did not use this benefit, but this would have been helpful, I think.
One thing that Athar said, actually, it is very true, but it has a vicious consequence as well if you are that kind of personality. For example, some people used to cut themselves from the groups so that they don't feel that much in the rat race or something. So that's what I'm saying. Just be cool and confident. Don't see what your friends are doing, but also you have to compete with them, right? So go in front of your friends, like study in group. Don't waste too much time, and don't worry where they are and where you are. I'd say if you have done nothing right now, like up till now, still there is very much time. It's sufficient for you to prepare for the final placement. So don't lose confidence, and if you are going for a group study, definitely don't compare yourself as such to like what other guys are.
I think that was
Um,
even helpful. Karmanya, would you like to add something?
yeah, I mean, pretty much what these guys said. Other than that, I would only like to add that this is this entire process does take a toll on a lot of guys. So just remember, the important thing is do what works for you. I mean, group study works for you, do go ahead for a group study. This works for you, do it for that. But before the process, before you start off right now, figure out which profile you want to get into. There are there are seniors who are already working in those profiles. Talk to them, see if that is a profile that you want to work in, that is what you want to get into, and then start preparing. Because you can't, finance is not something in which you can have a broad preparation for all the profiles at once. So my main suggestion for finance in particular would be pick a line and then prep for that and go ahead and ace that thing.
I mean, don't go for finance if you just don't like coding. If that's the only logic, I think you may get depressed in future.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
work
don't do that.
weekends also. We work frequent weekends, guys. Please remember that when you apply.
Thank you very much. I think Mriganka has a question. So, uh, Mriganka, you can ask your question. Okay. I think there's a problem with our mic, so we can move on.
Yeah.
We would definitely keep all this in mind. As we conclude today's panel discussion, I would like to thank our panelists for sharing their experiences and providing us with valuable advice and essential recommendations. This conversation, I feel, will undoubtedly assist students preparing for the finance profile. It was a pleasure to have you all in our panel today. I would like to thank our audience for their assistance in making this conversation a success. You all been quite engaging and active. Now, as finance session comes to an end, I would like to inform you that there is an amazing session on consult profile which awaits you tomorrow, which would cover all details and is a must watch for anyone preparing for that field. Thank you once again for joining in today. Have an amazing evening. This is Sudhipuret and Ridimas Biani signing off.